Yo, what's up, compadres? Welcome back to another episode. It is your host with the most from the West Coast, SB Press, reporting live from Mastermind Media. And as always, to my right, Lance the Man himself.
Yep.
And also to my right, Joe Rosati himself.
Dun, 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 dun.
God, Super Joe. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat. We have the lovely, amazing, and hilarious Miss Nicole Burch.
Hey, guys.
Yes. And like that, compadres, let's go.
Yeah, gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets. Yeah, better move out the way cause I'm coming with harder hits.
Let me go ahead and just say thank you first and foremost. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Miss Nicole Burch on the air.
Yay. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
No, thank you for being here with us. You
always.
know, can't say too much, but we are going to say a lot.
Yes, let's do it.
And not only do I personally think you're a queen of funny, but I know you're a funny mommy.
Yes.
So go ahead and show the world, what is it like to be, you know, a funny parent?
She doesn't care. You know, she's 3.5. I just a couple months ago we shot my second special called Mama Drama, and at the end, and it's kind of like how I got pregnant and the whole fiasco behind it, and then at the very end I bring her out on the stage, and when she came out, could not be less impressed with me. Like, not impressed. She wanted the microphone herself, and then her dad was backstage, and you know, in Video Village they have all the cameras up. So at the beginning, when the announcer first goes, "Welcome to the stage, Nicole Burch," like everybody in the back room is clapping also, like boosting morale or whatever. And my daughter goes, no, Dad, it's my turn. Let's go. Like, wanted nothing to do with me walking on stage.
What a princess.
She wanted the microphone herself. So yeah, she doesn't care that I'm funny, but it makes being a parent, how you have to have a sense of humor. It's, you know.
That's the way it goes, right?
Be on the lookout for that because it's funny. Like I said, laugh your pants and panties off.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to shoot that.
And without further ado, we have an awesome segment that we call Let It Fly.
Yes.
So we're going to throw some imagery up here. First thing from the mind, just let it fly.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
Please don't be. Please don't be.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
All right.
I didn't do that one.
What's that? What's that right there?
That is where I met your co-host, Joe Rosati.
Yes, that's right.
Pineapple Hill.
That is
Saloon
Frank,
and
by the
Grill?
way. That is Frank waiting. Frank, okay.
I've heard many stories about this place, so please enlighten me.
Okay, so I started working at Pineapple Hill. So when I first saw it, it was in a Craigslist ad. I had been working at, I think at the time, P.F. Chang's in Woodland Hills.
Okay.
And I was not making, like the most you'd make.
And you were bartending there.
Bartending.
Okay.
The most you'd make was like 120. There was one day I walked with 200, and I was like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
I can't do corporate anymore. So I was looking on Craigslist, and it listed this place. I pull up. It's in a really crappy strip mall, right? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look that appealing, okay?
No.
And I'm like, I immediately text my mom, and I was like, there's no way this is going to go well. I go in. It's like a cattle call. They had 96 or 94 people apply, come in, and do in-person interviews. And I remember at the time Angela was worried, who's the owner, and she was worried because she was like, oh, I don't know if she's fast enough, which I ended up being, I would like to say, a pretty good bartender.
Well, you're a damn good bartender.
Damn good bartender. So she had nothing to worry about. But you watch people go in and out, and I'm like, this place looks like the Regal Beagle from Three's Company, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no way. There's too many people, though. Right. And it's LA, and I just, you know,
It goes back to the commercial calls we were talking about.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yes. It's like, it's just a cattle call. The chances of this happening are slim. She already didn't seem to be that impressed with me in the interview process. So I was like, there's no way. I tell my mom I didn't get it. And then I think the next day she called and she's like, we'd love to give you an opportunity to come in on Friday and just see how you do. And I was like, oh, great. And I remember the first time I was following the day bartender at the time. I'm not going to name names. She's great. I just don't know if she wants me to say anything.
Anonymous.
But she was fantastic. And she had a lot of her regulars. And she expressed to me how important having those regulars were. And that she calls them or texts them every morning to let them know she's working. And I think it was one of the slowest shifts. Now at P.F. Chang's, I was getting killed and not making money.
Right.
Like it was so busy and I wasn't making money. She had, I don't know, it felt like 15 people the whole day. And she was like, yeah, so it's kind of a light day, but this is what I made. And it was $250. And I was like, oh, 15 people? And I was like, I can pack this place, dude. So then I started working there, and I started making ridiculous money. I think I was working like 4 nights a week. And then, the money was great. The regulars were fun. You've got the regulars that have been going there since the 70s, because it's been around since 1977.
And the place still looks like it's from the 70s.
Still, they just added TVs and beer taps. That's it, right?
No evolution at all.
It's copper bar tops. It's those old booths, like Italian mafia style booths. You know what I mean? I still love it. I still have like nostalgia for the place, and I still work a couple shifts a week there to pay for my kids' preschool. And it's easy. You go in, it's a 6-hour shift. You clock in, you clock out, and my kids' stuff's paid for. But I also still have relationships with some of the regulars that have been coming there since 2012. Yeah. So, and the guy there, so do you remember Old Man Jimmy?
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of my social media stuff.
I know. I've heard about Jimmy. I've seen Jimmy. I've been next to Jimmy. I have to say I'm not a fan of Jimmy, but
You'd like him now. He has changed.
What, he sobered up?
Well, he stopped doing coke.
Okay.
Yes.
Bombs.
So when he was 78, he decided to stop. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how old he was.
That'll do it.
So, so he's 84 now, or 82 now. I take him out every year on his birthday to the Smokehouse in Burbank, because that's his jam. And he doesn't get as messed up. He's more tolerable, et cetera, et cetera. However, he was living by himself, and sometimes he would need the walker, sometimes he doesn't. I swear he has 1,000 lives. I don't know how he's still alive. And like he's put together by the toxins that he ingests. Like that's the only thing that his blood is made up of. It's like 80 proof. And so this gentleman, Frank, was looking for a place to stay, and he's a handyman. So he moved in with him, and I was like, this is actually a really good mutualistic relationship, because he needs a place to stay and Jimmy needs help. And that sounds good in theory. However, now you just have kind of two degenerates that don't know what's happening, and now Jimmy's taking care of Frank, and it's great, and they're both great, and I love both of them. But it's funny how that happens. So
love-hate situation.
That's right. Yeah. What you got on that, Lance?
Oh man, this is where I met both of you guys.
Yeah,
too. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I have mixed emotions about
know,
that, and I told about it all the time. I mean, you know what? I look at it this way: I had fun, but I also wasted time. But I had some nights in there.
It was good times.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, especially with a friend of ours. And I'll drop his name. I don't care, because he's got 2 names there. Ferret. I mean, the improv me and him used to do when I came in there was funny as shit.
It's great. He was my favorite.
It was so much fun, because he would just talk shit. Everybody thought he was serious, and I'd grab his arm and throw shit at him. Or I showed up in a jumpsuit one time, a sweatsuit. Everybody knows I wear it. He goes, "What are you just getting you in witness protection now?" And around. I mean, it was good times. But knowing Nicole as well as I do, like, you should see that was her stage.
Yeah.
And she used to run a lot of material there too as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was those were fun times.
Yeah, and I even worked there when I was really pregnant. And I was gonna stop earlier, but when you're pregnant at that bar, like, you're making so much money. I was able to not work for 6 months. That's how much money. And I was working day shifts. Like, if you're making that much money at lunch.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but then on the night shifts when I'd be working with Farad, we would play these pranks on people where, like, he'd walk behind. I'd like grab my stomach and kind of lean forward onto the bar like I was having a contraction. And he would, like, go behind me and, like, spill water so it looked like I was.
That sounds about right.
Dude,
like it broke.
That's hilarious.
Or he'd tell everybody it was his baby. Or he'd tell everybody he was waiting for her to turn 18 so he could date her.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
it was
Imprinting type stuff?
It was a whole imprinting, exactly. It was a whole thing. He was like, this gives me so much material. And I was like, oh, I'm glad.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Let's see what else we got here.
That was a good one.
Oh, Amy Schumer. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. What do I want to say? Okay. I thought she did great hosting the Oscars, especially when there was the mishap. And she came out and she was like, after the Will Smith slap,
Right.
and she comes out and she goes, "Did I miss anything?" And that I thought she handled that really well. I mean, comedian, mom, pregnant, talks about that kind of stuff. I remember I was obsessed with her when she first came out with the Amy Schumer show, because she was doing on the street stuff.
Right.
She was still doing like really raunchy comedy, which was what I was doing. I was very envious at the time because people were like, "Dude, this chick reminds me of you," and she's like, "Stole your show," and I was like, I didn't have a show. So she didn't steal anything. It's hers. But yeah, I'm excited to see like how her career's gonna go. I know some people are polarized by her, you either love her or hate her, but I know better than to talk shit. So
Right.
yeah, no, I like her. I think she's great.
Yeah.
She's funny as hell. She's funny. You said a lot, but I will say with a lot of her outside accolades, she's a giver. So that's a big thing about her personality. She gives back to a lot of people.
Yeah, she's polarizing, but I definitely, she had, especially in the beginning, she was hilarious. For sure.
I mean, she's done some wonderful things. She's had a great career. I mean, I can't say nothing bad about her.
She also gives, I think, a lot of new comics opportunities.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. So.
Yeah. She sent the elevator back down. That's what I say. You always have to send the elevator back down.
Right. She's great in the interview, too.
We're doing this.
What is that?
We're doing this, huh? Go for it, Joe.
Does it say missing Titanic?
Yeah, so Jai brought this up the other day, and and I was like, and then someone brought it up yesterday, and then I was like, I'm amazed. Like, first and foremost, I would not want to go 15,000 feet down to the ocean in that, which is I'm probably bigger than. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, we're talking. I mean,
they fit 5 people. They can fit 1.5 of you.
Exactly. And it's very unfortunate that people lost their lives, but at the
course.
same time, I mean, you're talking about a billionaire. You think you'd have a better plan and have the safety precautions. Like Cameron said, he came out and his article he read about, because I looked at it a lot, and it's pretty crazy. Like I think sometimes, I mean, just leave the Titanic where it is, and that's a cemetery, and it is what it is, and no one's going to see it. I mean, I don't think anybody else would want to go down that far. I mean, the ocean is that's if you want to talk about something that I'd be scared of, the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. Oh, with all the shark attacks, I'm scared of the ocean in general. I don't even want to put my feet in it right now with what's going on. This one, I saw some videos, and I assumed, they're like, oh, it's the size of a minivan. So I assumed there were seats. No, there's no seats. You're sitting Indian style with no shoes on. And then my boyfriend said, I go all to look out the window, and he goes, oh, there can't be windows at that depth. And I go,
that's
what?
Right. Yeah.
And he goes, no. And I go, so you're going down that far. There's no windows. You're still looking at a monitor. Just have them send the footage up.
Right.
What's the difference?
Wow.
And so, but then there's also a thing of, there's this going on, and it's 5 billionaires, who all paid like $250,000 to do it. And then there's, 400 migrants that are missing at sea. It's like, which one gets more coverage? It's like this one does, which is insane. And I know Titanic is a spin-off of it. Like, that's going to get more footage. But you're also like, why are we covering? And they're already doing a documentary on it.
Yeah.
They've already
quick,
started.
right? Yeah. It's crazy, right?
It's crazy.
What you got, Lance?
That's the exact point I had. I was thinking, like, there's so much more in the world that happens. And this has been dominant in news. I mean, God rest their souls, but I mean, it's I mean,
with all the money that they spent too.
Chance
it's like I think they spent more money than what that was actually made of and worth.
And it was. Is it true that it was ran by like a controller, right?
Yeah.
Like a Game Boy or
I
something?
can't get
it was a
Xbox?
Yeah. They said Sega Dreamcast controller. I'm like, wow, no.
I think that was a roast. I think it was
It was
an
a
Xbox.
roast.
Yeah,
but it looked like
like an Xbox controller
or PlayStation 2 with the analogs there and everything.
Unbelievable.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Someone computed what $250,000 costs to a billionaire. It's the cost of a sandwich to a regular day person. So
Yeah, so it's not even
crazy.
So you gambled with your life in the equivalent of a sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Drop in a bucket.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what's going to happen to the guy who owns this. Like, what's going to happen to him?
What are the consequences behind this?
Exactly.
Oh, somebody else owns it that wasn't in it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the guy that was driving it
And
was the one who
the,
owned
and the
it.
thing is, it's like we look at the safety precautions on everything. I mean, where's the safety at? I mean, because you're playing with your life.
And then wasn't it James Cameron who said that not one single engineer passed it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, see, that's the problem I have with it.
It
That's
wasn't meant to go down there.
Wow.
And they signed waivers.
Oh, wow.
I am curious to find out if, because they said that they found it 1,600 feet away, which is fairly close given the massive ocean. But did they, I just want to know, like, did they get to see it?
Right.
Or did they not even get to see it? And then I'm glad that it happened quickly.
Right.
If that's the way they're going to go, it's not like that slow losing oxygen part. But it's also like, did you even get what you came for? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know how they would know that either.
Right.
So.
Boom.
We did. It's a women comedian
female
time,
comedian.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
I love Sarah Silverman. Her comedy is very different than mine. I have such an appreciation for it. I love the podcast stuff she's doing. She's the first one that I was like, oh, now I want to do a podcast because I want to take questions and which is not at all what I'm doing right now, but I'm merging into that.
Right.
And that I love the show she did where she travels around America. And even though she's so liberal, they would send her to the most conservative Bible Belt, Mormon, everything. And she would just make friends with everybody. And I was like, I'm from the Midwest. And when I would go back, everybody was like, yeah, Trump's going to win. And I was like, there's no way he's going to win. I'm from California. Like, no, but there's not a chance. But you start hearing it, and it didn't make me divisive either way. I was just like, oh, that's interesting that you have that perspective and that we can have that conversation.
Right.
Where some people are like, oh, my mom voted for him. I don't speak to her anymore, which I think is ridiculous.
I agree with you 100% on that.
But she's at least open and like, let's have a dialogue where she doesn't like, And then I really appreciated that one time she got an internet troll on Twitter. And instead of like going after him, she was like, let's get you help. And he was like, what? And she was just like, well, it sounds like you're in a really dark place. And she ended up getting therapy for him. And I was like, this is to a troll that was just trying to who's probably in his mom's basement sad and complaining. And you're like, that's a different approach than I would have took. And it's inspiring. So
she's a funny person who takes a sense of humor moment and makes it into a truthful experience, like she was just sharing with us. But I think she has some of the most hilarious, nasty jokes, and she definitely hands down got that down. And I've been seeing her for years and years and years, and she just keeps on evolving and keeps on going. So
she's one of the goats for sure.
I
agree with Lance on that. For sure, she's.
If you compare her in comedy, even with different men, she's up there.
She's done some really good stuff.
Really good.
She's been really funny for years.
Some
and
of
like
the
I said,
roasts
she's raunchy as shit.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. I would put her maybe in the Dice category.
Oh, that's a good, that's
because
a good
when
one.
Dice came out, he was so raw, no one knew, and they like, dude, that shit today is still funny to me.
And he's still so even his type of raw is different because his cadence is slow. It's almost like one-liners, and hers is there's nobody else that has a voice like that.
And he, in Dice, I ran into him one time at Buka. I don't know if you were there or not.
I don't think so.
That mother same shit, same outfit, just still playing that same character like she is, So
maybe it's just him.
Well, I don't know. Supposedly it's not.
Is that it there?
Yeah.
Word.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and dive deep into the story of Miss Nicole Burch. So, I wanted to just go ahead.
I know. I was like,
serious.
Smoothed into that.
Yeah. So, enlighten us and the audience at home that are listening and watching. Where does your awesome sense of humor come from? What's the inspiration behind it?
I am definitely a storyteller. I'm not a joke teller. So when somebody's like, "Oh, you're a comedian, tell me a joke," I'm like, "Get out of here! I'm not doing that." Do we cuss on this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. I'm like, get the out of here. Because it all comes from personal experiences for the most part. Sense of humor. I mean, everybody in my family is fairly funny. Joe knows my mom.
Yeah.
She's a funny lady. My dad's actually hilarious. My brother's probably the funniest one of us. He just never wanted to pursue comedy. So there was no way you could embarrass us. We'd already been embarrassed so much by the time we were like 5.
Right.
That by the time you go into the world, you're like, nothing can embarrass me now. You know what I mean? Right. So that's where it comes from, but it's all actual storytelling from stuff that's happened. It used to be, before I had my daughter, everything was dating related. Everything. And then I got pregnant and I was like, well, this is probably a good thing because it's going to change my material, or I'm still going to be, if it weren't for my daughter, I would have ended up being like an 80-year-old woman still talking about dating, and it gets a little old, right? Yeah, it's not the same.
I'll tell you what, I've seen, even when we're at the bar, but when I want to go see her live, her dating stories.
Insane. LA is
they were insane. I mean, and just so funny. And I think you're right on it. You are a great storyteller. Yeah. I mean, you really, I remember that show at the Ice House.
Oh yeah. That was a great one.
And it was the celebrity guy, right? That you were talking about? Wasn't it the celebrity?
Oh,
guy?
Ice House. Oh, Michael Vartan. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I was thinking of that. Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, I went on a date with my. So
Shit is
imagine.
so funny.
Imagine a celebrity that you had a crush on when you were like in your teen years.
Right.
That you were obsessed about, that you made vision boards of his face, and that you like kissed goodnight every night. Not okay, that's not normal. So imagine that that's normal, and then 20 years later, you run into him at a party, and he asks you on a date. Wow. That's what happened, and it's the guy. If you ever watched Drew Barrymore's movie, it's called Never Been Kissed. He was the love interest of her. He's also been in Monster-in-Law.
Right.
He was Jennifer Lopez's husband,
Yeah.
and he was in Alias. Opposite Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
So like he had like in the early 2000s, he was like a smoke show.
Right.
And then we went on a date and chaos ensued, and that was my first conversation. Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom.
He's great. It's nothing against him. It was, I just made a complete ass out of myself. So
So you alluded to the Midwest. So you started there, and then how'd you transition to LA?
I moved from Kansas City in 2009.
Gotcha.
I wanted to pursue a career in dramatic acting. That lasted 2 days. And I took headshots my first day here. And he even asked me, he goes, why don't you do one that's like lighter for comedy? And I was like, no, thank you. Right. I'm a serious actress. And I'm not even that good of an actress at all. So that lasted 2 days. I signed up with the Groundlings, or I auditioned for the Groundlings. I got in. And then that started my whole sketch and improv career there, which I ended up in the Sunday Company, which is where you perform a different show every Sunday for 6 months. And it basically, think of how Saturday Night Live is ran. They have a pitch night, they have dress rehearsal, they have a real show, and then in between they do improv. And that was a lot of fun. That was a big learning curve. And when my time was done there, I was like, what do I do next? And that's when I started doing stand-up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
What you got, Joe?
So, the writing. Mm-hmm. Do you write every day? Or because I know you talk about, you go to a lot of personal experiences. Because I mean, I know you well enough, and I know the personal experiences.
Yeah.
Do you write every day, or?
No, I think, well, first of all, I have a kid now that's 3.5, so absolutely not. And I will say I take more advantage of my time. So when I sit down to write, I write, it's better quality, it's sharper, it's with the audience in mind. I'm less willing to like, let's try this joke. It's like, no, what's going to hit? Don't be dumb. Like that's, and it's worked. Before, I don't think I would probably, when I was in Groundlings, I wrote every day. I mean, that was 40 hours of writing a week and unpaid.
Right.
But it teaches you, it really hones your craft and like gets that muscle. So when I was cut from Groundlings, because you do 6 months, you can either do another 6 months, you can get into main company, or eventually they ask you to leave. And like you get 2 shots at it or 3 shots at it. And when they were like, we like your sense of humor, we just don't want to hear it anymore. And so when I left, I still had that muscle, and I was like, oh, I don't want that to die. So I was still writing probably 20, 25 hours a week just to keep it fresh. And then I remember I did my first stand-up. I went to a friend's stand-up show, and he introduced me to the booker, and the booker goes, oh, she did this show at the Groundlings, because I wrote my own show called The 7 Guys You Date Before You Get Married. And he goes, if you want, I'll give you 7 minutes next week. And I did my 7 minutes, and look, I packed the house. So did I really do good? Who knows? But I packed the house. It was material that I'd already used from a show that had already done well. So it killed, and then the next week he goes, we'd love you to headline. You get 25 minutes. And I was like, ooh, okay. And that's when I really had to start writing and learning the difference between stand-up and sketch and all that stuff. But again, that's probably why I'm a better storyteller than a joke teller, because I come from a sketch background. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So I like to ask, overcoming fear, as far as going on stage and, just really honing yourself before you go on.
Yeah.
What are some of the practices that you do? Some breathing techniques, some of the music that you probably listen to before you go on, or just talks within yourself to help you prepare yourself for the stage?
I'm really good, and this has been so unintentional. So I've just been very lucky that the people that are with me backstage are just really good pep talkers. So this last special was Craig, who's my daughter's dad. I go, I think I'm going to throw up. And he's like, he was like, what do you mean you got, and I never, like, if it's just a regular show, I don't get nervous anymore. I get excited, but it's almost never nervous, even if it's new material. But this one, I was like, oh, something's wrong. My energy is not good. It's in a low vibration and I need to get it up and I don't know what's happening. And Craig was wonderful. He was like, all right, with our daughter, he's like, let's go take mommy to the dressing room. We all have to have a talk. And so we're there and he's like, here's the thing. You love it when the chips are down. You love it when somebody says you can't do it. So I don't think you can do it. And I don't think you, and I was like, yeah, it's working. He goes, by the way, I think you can do it. But like, I don't think you can. I was like, okay. And I can't remember what the second thing was he said, but he knows me well enough. And then on my first special, the director, Corey Craig, was so phenomenal at like checking in on me. What do you need? He's like, you're going to kill, like, this is your story. No. And they both said the same thing. Oh, that's what Craig said. You wrote it. Nobody knows if you're going to get it wrong. Like, you wrote it. It's a script. It's not like you're, reinventing Shakespeare.
Right, exactly.
And people can be like, that's not what you're supposed to say. It's your story. Just go out there and have fun. And Amir K was the other one. He's a fantastic comedian. If you don't follow him, Amir K is amazing. And he opened for me on my first special. And I did the first show, and we had a gap between the second show. And he comes up to me and he goes, hey, that was great. You've got that one in the can, no notes. But this one, just go lights out. Like, don't give a shit. Just go have fun. This audience, the late night audience, are all your best friends, and you need to let it fly. And we ended up using 95% of the material from the second show because I was just like, I don't care. So there's that. And then other than that, I just pace a lot. I just pace. And you can even, there's footage of the last special where I'm behind the stage. I'm in the rafters and you can literally see, I did not know there was a camera on me. So this whole time I'm like, I'm confident. I got this. I'm literally prayer hands folded, looking up, going, oh, come on, you can do this, you can do this. And I had no idea there was a camera. I'll show you guys afterwards. I had no idea there was a camera on me the whole time.
That's awesome.
I was at that special, right?
Cool.
I think
you were at that one. I was
killed that. Like, I would never have known that you were nervous or anything. You came out and owned the stage.
Well,
for sure.
if we've been doing edits this week, and like I come out, my arms straight up, and like, and I'm like, that's literally me putting my body in a position to be like, girl, don't throw up on stage. Hands up, you can do this, psych yourself up.
Oxygen up here.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts.
I just remember when you stepped on stage, you were said hi to everybody and you started your show, but you just like really owned the stage immediately. Yeah. Like, off your first couple words. So
commanding stage.
I'm glad it looked that way. That is not what I felt like inside.
I know. That's
I'm a little
so funny.
surprised to hear about the stage fright you have or like the nervousness.
It was this one was different because I think the first one I produced it.
Well, that was the Ice House special, right? Wasn't that the first one?
Yeah, the first one.
Right.
Yes.
The comedian was an Indian guy, right?
That's Amir K.
Yeah, that dude's funny as shit.
He's so good.
That dude is so funny.
No, well, he's Armenian, but
I remember that. Yeah,
but he's so good.
He is. He's funny.
And then Alonzo Bodden opened for me on one of the other ones, and Dustin Ybarra. They're all like lights out comics. It's crazy, and I think the reason that one I wasn't as nervous. I was nervous because it was my first time doing a full special. But by the time I did the second one, no nerves at all. We did the first show, the second show, no nerves. But this special, we filmed two. You usually film two or more specials, and then they edit the best of. Right. This one I only had one shot at, and that didn't really make me nervous. It was that when I got there, like I already knew what Ice House looked like. I knew where the cameras were going to be. I knew the crew. This, I was walking in. Somebody asked me the other day who directed it, and I literally was like, I have no idea. This was produced and funded by somebody else. I was paid ahead of time. It was a step up. It was very different. And I'd performed on the El Portal Theater before. I'd performed 7 Guys there. And it's a play. I don't want to say it. That sounds dirty. I performed the 7 Guys You Date Before You Get Married there. And it looked so different. It looked so nice and so professional. And then it looks even more professional in post that I was like, oh, this is a lot. this is a lot. And even though we had like, I think 140 people, which that theater goes to almost 400, but they have to have cameras everywhere, right? Yeah. I was like, this is intense. And I think that's probably why, but hopefully I won't be that nervous. I'm glad it didn't show. I hope it didn't show.
Oh, so. Everybody was ecstatic.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was a warm audience for sure.
I wanted to ask you too. So, behind the scenes in the comedic world, is there like a tension between female and male counterparts in the comedian space?
They say it's it's a man's world. It's male dominated, and
gotcha.
it is. However, I've only had one experience and it was the townhouse. So when you said ice house, which they have a Del Monte, which is the downstairs of it's the speakeasy of the ice house or of the townhouse in Venice, and I got a spot on there, and I was the only female. And I remember going backstage and I go, hey guys, have you seen the lineup? And 4 or 5 guys, they're all smoking weed. It's filled with weed smoke. And I'm like, do you guys know where the set list is? And they all locked eyes with me and then went back to their conversation.
Wow.
And my response to that was like, hey, this isn't the 60s. Where the set list? Give me the set list. So one other comic was coming in. He overheard the conversation. He was nice enough to be like, here, I'll show you where it is. So he shows me where it is. I'm like 5th and he's 4th. And I go, what is that? I've never encountered that ever. Like, in fact, most of the people who've given me a break or given me an opportunity have been men in this industry.
Right.
So I hadn't experienced that yet.
Right.
And since. And so they start doing their stuff and I'm like standing on the side and I'm listening to everybody. The guy who's a real asshole, he had just done his set and he was so stoned that the pacing was so slow that the audience people in the audience were rolling their hands like speed up, dude.
They were trying to give him the light and shit.
Yeah, they're like tank. And these guys had performed there quite a bit.
Right.
And the MC was fantastic. But the first one did okay, second one did okay. Third one tanked, that was the high one. 4th guy goes up, who was nice to me. And keep in mind, none of the other comics are watching the other comics this whole time. Right. They just do their stuff, go back and drink, right? Or smoke or whatever. And he does a plan B joke. I had a plan B joke. And I was like, okay, maybe I don't do the plan B. Right. And then somebody said something to me backstage before I went up. And it was really rude. And I can't remember what it was. And I was already pissed off. I was already very angry. And so, but I am fueled by rage, so that's good. And so I go up and like, as I'm like getting ready to be called up, I can hear all of them talking that's what it was. I heard them whispering about, let's go watch her.
Oh,
so
wow.
Every comic that had either gone or hadn't gone decided to come out and line up on the wall to watch me because they wanted me to fail. Like, it was very obvious. So my opening bit had changed. And I changed it to telling everybody in the audience what had just happened. And then I individually shit on every comic except comic number 4, who was nice. Mm-hmm. And I said, by the way, I do have a plan B joke. Are you cool if I... And he was like, yeah, do it. Like, he's like, this guy. But like, I shit on all the other comics. And I did it in a way that was funny.
Right.
It wasn't... I mean, you could tell I was heated, but it wasn't like belligerent. It wasn't like out of control. It was still like well crafted.
Right.
And then I did my set. I got a standing ovation.
That's beautiful.
It was the best show I've ever done. And then I get off that stage and the MC's like, hey, let me know when I can book you again. And I was like, never. I was like, I get it, but I'm like, it wasn't, and he does really good shows.
Right.
But I was like, I just don't want to come back to
I remember I used to go see at the Federal quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I could tell the arrogance from the men around her.
Yeah.
And there was one guy in particular, I don't know his name, but we knew a mutual friend, and he's just a dick.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the guy's name, but I just seen it because, it's how everybody like sees people.
Yeah.
And you could just see how they the ladies come up, but she would just fire it off.
Yeah.
I mean.
That was a fun show, and a lot of people kind of.
Well, I thought upstairs was always better than downstairs.
Oh my God, so much better.
Yeah.
When they would have it upstairs, you could get like 150 people in there. And you would get comics that were that's how I got my start. It was basically an open mic. And then you have one good headliner that's good. And so you don't know what you're getting. The first hour of the show could be terrible.
Right.
It could be good. It could be like, it just depended. And so it's not, you know, it kind of got not a bad rap, but it was like, oh, well, it's not the Comedy Store. And I'm like, of course it's not the Comedy Store. However, it's so funny because me performing there was the only place in LA I could perform 25 minutes to 30 minutes.
Right.
And it was fine. And he usually let me run
and
the
you were
light.
doing like monthly there, weren't
Yeah.
you? Right?
Yeah. And it was like a lot of sold out shows, not every time, but a lot. And, you know, even at the store, you're going to get 7-10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So this was a way
To do your material.
I always
and work
got,
it out,
I got
right.
so excited to do that show because they really love their comics, which was great.
Nice.
Now, having amazing material, have you ever came across anyone using or stealing any of your jokes?
Oh, that's interesting because I will say this: when I did the Mama Drama special, I researched a lot of female comedians like Christina P., who I think is amazing. It's Tom Segura's wife, but she, her first special on motherhood was lights out, and then she just did another one called Mom Jeans. And I'm glad I watched it because I had a whole bit on generational trauma and she covered it and hers was way better than mine. So I was like, okay, cut that out. So I don't know a lot of people that cut and paste, but I do know that a lot of us have the same ideas, right? Or the same, and it's hard. Somebody accused, I was watching you could do a deep dive on like Twitter or something. And somebody's like, yeah, look at Amy Schumer stealing this bit. And then they play her bit. And the bit is talking about, do you remember like all those weird sex positions, like the Houdini and the Dirty Sanchez? And so she took that bit and she goes, I've thought of some other ones. And she's like, the Abraham Lincoln where he blah, 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 or the blah, blah, blah. And like she made it. I'm like, she's not stealing. And they're like, she stole she stole Patrice's jokes. And I'm like, because he made the original ones,
Patrice
right?
O'Neill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm like, she didn't steal his. And he wouldn't have even said that she stole his. But like, she didn't steal his. She was like adding to, right? But people were like, yeah, that's stealing the same joke. And I'm like, that's not stealing. Now, there are comics who have definitely been accused, Mencia accused by Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I mean, that's been going on for years. And I don't think anybody still knows the true story behind that shit because it goes back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. But, and those are conversations that happen backstage or that you watch another comic open that's newer and then you watch a seasoned comic take it. That's awful. And I can't imagine that, I've had scripts stolen. I haven't had, as far as I know, material of mine stolen, but.
I knew that. What you got, Joe?
So who's your biggest influence?
Ooh.
Who's my influence? I mean, I can tell you who my favorite comics are. Because like I grew up on like Lucy and Carol Burnett. Those are like the greatest hits, right? And then I love Bill Burr. I love how angry he is.
A lot of people love Bill Burr.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
I think he's hilarious.
He's so great. And my mom is surprised that I love him. Not because he's not good, but because he's clean, is Nate Bargatze. I think he's one of the best comedians. The way he delivers, it's flawless and it's relatable, but it's also clean. So my mom's like, oh, I was just surprised you like somebody who does everything else.
Right.
And so I like them. Chris Porter, I love Chris. He's a hometown guy. I've known him since I was 15 and he's doing really well. There's a lot of, I love that whole trio, Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Christina P., who are all three very different comedians. Yeah. And you put them all together and you're like, Bert Kreischer's the one who always comes out without his shirt on.
Right.
That's the machine.
The machine. It's just all of that. And like, that's not my comedy that I do, but I can really appreciate it. Right. And I just like to sit and laugh. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's funny. Top 3 places you performed at. It can be California. I know you performed at other places too.
I'll say the best shows I've had.
There
right.
You go.
So definitely Townhouse.
Right.
Doesn't mean I want to go back, but definitely the Townhouse was my favorite show. I kind of feel like I have to say the Federal only because it gave me my start.
Right.
I mean, the Comedy Store is my favorite. And then to travel, I'll add one, which is TK's in Dallas, Texas, because that's A, where I met my boyfriend, and B, the last show I did, it was like the place was vibrating. It was so much fun. And so And Dallas, Texas, you get away with a lot more than you do in LA. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I'm actually going to piggyback off of that. Top 3 places that you would want to perform at.
Comedy Cellar. Let's see, Hyenas, and probably Zanies.
Well, you see how she's just bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
She
Somebody
knows.
she
She knows
has.
what she wants.
Yeah.
Woman who knows
Oh,
what
and
she wants.
Punchline, Philly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Philly.
Yeah, Punchline
Yeah,
Philly, please.
yeah.
I would love it. Yeah.
That's one of Tutu's favorite spots. She's big on, going to comedy shows and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I would love to bring her to one of your shows.
Yes.
Definitely
Please.
would.
Please.
So I have a personal bone to pick with you.
Ooh, uh-oh.
Well, it sounds
Okay,
like it's been
I'm
personal
going to
all the
tell you
time.
something. I really appreciate your little sketch you did with someone about being a Raider fan and then reference someone that has a Raider tattoo on their calf.
Raider Nation.
And you don't use me. And what's funny about this is Lance is the one that goes, hey, bro, did you see that shit Nicole did? I go, no. And I looked, I go, are you kidding me? I got the, in fairness, I'm a football fan.
The reason I cast Ferret is because he's the closest person that looks like Edward from Twilight
I'll
series.
get you that.
Yeah.
So what it is we made fun of that scene in Twilight
Right.
where she admits in the forest that she knows he's a vampire, except I changed it as I am a Chiefs fan, and I recognized after dating him for a while that he's actually a Raiders fan. And so, and do I say I should know that you're a Raiders fan because you have a Raiders tattoo on your calf? Yes. Is that an homage to Joe Rosati? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But also, you are also one of 2 people that were bar regulars that were Raiders fans that had a calf tattoo of the Raiders.
Really?
So I was like, maybe it's a thing.
But I'll tell you what, those were fun times. That was a fun little banter we used to have with it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, now I'm kind of like, I don't give a about football because I'm just pissed.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that as a fan that you can enjoy it. And
Yeah.
you're one of the few Chiefs fans that I know
Yeah.
that are from there.
Yeah.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
And, you know, hey, have fun with it.
Yeah.
But she is a diehard football fan and she knows her business.
I do.
I thought there was gonna be more fire coming from you since she is a Chiefs fan.
Well, no, it's we had fun. We did pictures about getting along. We did,
Yeah.
you know, she would do little bits on Facebook at the time. I mean, she was like when the Raiders beat them, like there was that OT, like I think there was like 3 plays in a row. They kept on flagging it. And then
Yeah.
she goes, "I'm sober watching this shit. Congrats!" You know, we
Yeah.
had fun with it over the years. We had a good time. We had a good time with it. So
Yeah. And I did write a commercial for you to be in that one time.
yes,
Remember
no. I want
Yeah.
you to tell that story because this is up because
Well, I don't know if I can.
no, I know, but
'cause
I
signed a
just
disclosure.
then I'll say something about it.
You can go ahead.
Okay.
I signed a disclosure. I
She basically wrote this sketch and got out of it, and it was exactly to the T her idea. It was, and it was going to be me and you, and they took it and ran with it, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah. And
It
it
was-
became a commercial.
Yeah, it was really up,
Yeah.
and that's how that. Business
And we'd been
is.
talking about it like 2 weeks leading up.
Yeah.
Like we talked about it months before
Right.
that. And then my sister was in town
Yeah.
and you and I were at the bar and I literally said, "Oh, this is the idea." And I told my sister the idea. And 2 days later, my sister and I were in Santa Monica. I go, we've been wanting to shoot it for 3 months, but I'm waiting to see what my manager says, but I haven't heard back from him. I wonder why I hadn't heard back from him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he had to pay a lot of money.
Exactly.
So then we're at Barney's Beanery in
Right.
Santa Monica, and we're watching football. I've got a beer in my hand. I'm standing up, and a commercial comes on. I'm on my phone, and my sister goes, "Oh no," and puts her hand on my arm. And I look up, and I'm like, "That's weird. That's weird." And it keeps going and keeps going, and it's literally beat per beat per beat. The end shot, there's a dog.
Yep.
I had an end shot with my dog. It was
I remember all that.
bop, and I was like, "Oh!" And I dropped the glass. It didn't break. It would have
should've
been
broke.
It would have been more dramatic if it would have. Though it would have been a good.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Oh, it just bounced. Okay, I'll get that." Yeah.
So since we're on that topic a little bit, how do you feel about the business now?
I think, and I think we've kind of talked about this. I think after having my daughter,
Right.
I am more fulfilled in other ways. That now I look at the industry. Like I said, I had a few auditions, commercial auditions, the last couple of weeks, and I said no to all 3 of them. And so my heart, it's not that my heart isn't in it. It's just that I've done 200-300 commercial auditions and I've booked 1. Now, did that one buy me a Jeep? Yes. But I also know the odds And if you tell me who's cast in what, or if there's too many women or men, or I'm too old or young, like I can kind of tell you whether I'm going to book it or not, or if I even have a shot at it. So if I don't have a shot at it, if it's all ages, any ethnicity that they're calling
Forget about it.
I'm not going to go.
Yeah, forget
You don't
about
even know what you want. You don't know if you want a 4-year-old or a 40-year-old. You're wasting my time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's that. And then I kind of like, you take stock. So I'm like, out of 12 years, the first 12 years, I booked 6 co-stars and 1 guest star. That doesn't even what is that, 60 grand? That you start looking at it like that. I made more off of the commercial.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you look at that and you're going, even if that's $120,000 in a total of 14 years, what am I doing? You know what I mean? I've made more doing stand-up.
Right.
So, yeah. Not that it's just about money, but you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm not even, and I don't know how you feel, but when you're on set and you're in the trailer, I am so mind-numbingly bored, and I know a lot of people are, but there are those people that take pictures, and I took the pictures too, but they're like, I'm just waiting for my chance to say my 2 lines, and I'm so excited. And that was me. And now I'm like, shoot me. I don't want to do that anymore.
I mean, it's just like the whole thing with that is it's the red tape getting the job. And then when you get to the job, it's like, you just sit around, but you got to go all through all these steps to get there.
Yeah.
And then when they run it, okay, that was it. It's amazing how much they waste.
Yeah.
With crews and time, and that's where they really burn all the money at.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think I've also come to the conclusion, whenever I promote my stuff, I promote it on Bob and Sherry. They have this radio show that's nationally syndicated, and there's they've been doing it for like 40 years, and it's a well-oiled machine. And, I'll do my bit. They always ask me to come on for 15 minutes. It ends up being an hour. And then I log off of the Zoom, but then in the other room, it's still going because they're still talking. Their show's still going. So I go back because I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're going to say about me, if it really went well. And every time I've done that show, Bob is like, I don't understand how she doesn't have a bigger career. She could do she could go from Hallmark movies to The Best Friend in a rom-com to the blah, blah, blah. She could do stand-up. She could do all this stuff. And she's got the look and she's got this. And I'm not saying I'm a leading lady. I'm a great fun friend. Right. Like I would support the hell out of you. You know what I mean? And she could do all these things. And then Sherry always backs it up with, you and I've been doing this a long time, and luck has so much to play into it.
Absolutely.
That I don't think it's, I'm so good and I just haven't got my chance. I don't think that at all. No. I think there's a lot of people better. This is when it really hit me, that there are people that are way better than me that haven't even gotten my 6 co-stars. Yeah. And that's when I'm baffled, because they're like some of the best actors I know. And I'm like, a lot of it is up to chance. That said, I'm not, I don't know. I just don't want to put all my eggs in that basket anymore.
So. I love it. I think that's great.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
I got a kid now, too.
There
so
we
it's
go.
like, yeah. It is. And I appreciate.
You have your priorities, It's just like I have a friend, Mama Tony, that Mark knows, and you guys have
Shout
met her
out,
a couple
Mama
times.
Tony.
I've referenced her before. She said it best back in the day. I don't got time to run to Santa Monica to for a commercial audition and say hi and then try back 2 hours.
Yeah.
But now, they've started to do all the self-tapings, which are another pain in the ass because...
You have to set up we can
talked
either go to
about
Farrad or you have to set up all the equipment. And there was one where my friend called and he goes, last minute audition, it is your age range, it is your ethnicity, and it is... they're looking for curvier, so like they don't want skin. I was like, okay, what's up? Let's do this. And he was like, you got 3 hours. And at the same time, I was like, I got to take my kid to school. I got to get ready for work, and I have to set up all the equipment. I was like, it's going to be a no for me. And Nicole 5 years ago would have sold her baby, you know what I mean, to get to that audition. Right. And Nicole now is like, And
now they try to do them the same day.
Yeah.
And that's against the rules, like we were talking about.
They're not supposed to. Yeah,
with the strike coming and everything. But one thing too is like Mark over here, who's supposed to be my boy, he's taped 1 audition for me, and guess what? I booked it.
Yeah.
And now he won't do it for me at all. I don't know why, but that's a whole other discussion for another time. That was a little apartment, remember? That was tight.
So I mean, like, look, if it's a theatrical and it's juicy and it's fun and it's and I think that I would have a shot, or if I just thought it would be really fun to do, I would absolutely still do it. My heart is still in it that way, but I get more pleasure from doing stand up that I've written, that I can produce a show, that I can ask any, like, I've got, have mini tours that I can do across the country now. So not only can I make money doing it, but I kind of have control over how that plays out. I'm not knocking on somebody's door begging. It's like, hey, can I get a spot? Yeah. Okay, great. Then I'll be there Thursday. And it's so much more fluid, and it's based on talent and not this system that we have no control over. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, you alluded to, the professionalism and everything and the parenting. How difficult is it for you to separate the two?
Okay, so I have a therapist that helps me because I've noticed
not your mother.
No, absolutely not.
That's her.
I love my mom, but absolutely not. No, I discovered that whenever I would yell at my daughter or snap at my daughter, it's because I had a professional thing going on. Like, I was either on my phone and I was trying to answer an email, or I was watching somebody else's podcast that was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do, or I want to edit like this, or I want to do it like that, or somebody's stand-up special. And I'd be wanting to engage in that, and she would need me, and that's when I would snap at her. So we now have a rule that when I come home, phone is off. Plus, she goes to bed at 7:30. It's not like it has to be off that long. Do you know what I mean? So phone is off, phone is down. She was sick yesterday, and there were parent-teacher conferences today. So yesterday was great because it was just like a no-phone kind of day, and we just kind of got to hang out. I get more from engaging with her than I do the professional stuff. However, my heart is still in a lot of that professional stuff. So I still have to allow myself time. Like, she can go to her dad's, or I can get a babysitter, and I can give that also the time and energy it needs. But she gets 90% of it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Princess, for sure.
Yeah, princess.
As she should.
Yeah. My energy's gone up because of her. Like, I was having a really bad day a couple of days ago, because I was just getting a lot of random critiques from people who've never set foot in the arena. Do you know what I mean? It's always, it's not like, it's somebody who's like a CPA that have a note about something I said 10 years ago on YouTube. And I'm like, why did I look that up? And we'll take bubble baths. Everly and I will take bubble baths together, and it like re-centers me. I mean, we'll do the Santa Claus bubbles, like to make the beard and stuff. I won't just be laughing, and like that re-centers me now versus, a martini or something. Yeah.
Very nice.
That content you put out.
And I agree totally what you say too, because I read something the other day, Josh Jacobs, he's going to probably hold out, this guy wrote, I respect you, and I just don't understand why you're doing this when people can't make ends meet and this and that. And then someone commented, like, dude, you didn't put in the time to become a professional athlete to go do this, so you have nothing. They have no grounds to say anything.
Yeah,
and they just have nothing better to do. Yeah, and like you said, they've never been in the arena.
Yeah,
just like what we do, or the music and everything you got going on, and you've never been in it, so you don't know what it takes.
You gotta respect the person's grind.
Yeah, you never take advice from somebody, or like you never ask for directions from somebody who's never been on that path that you want to go on. Like, that's the thing, and that I will get lost down a downward spiral looking at comments and stuff. And so I literally have to just stop, because I'm like, if you are happy and successful, both. You can't just be happy, you can't just be successful. But if you're happy and successful, in no way, shape, or form would you go on anybody's platform and write anything negative.
Yeah. Right.
There's no reason to, because you're successful, so you should be busy. And because you're happy, so why would you shit on somebody else? That doesn't make sense. So whoever is writing those negative comments, that is, because whenever I think about a negative thing or passing judgment on somebody, I know I'm not in a good place. Right. So I know on both sides of that. And so it's like, just take it with a grain of salt.
Clip that, Ricky.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
So, podcasting, right?
Yeah.
You just started that up. Let us know about your podcast. Yes. What's going on there?
Well, I'm shooting it here at Mastermind Studio.
Oh,
From now on, I know I started somewhere else, and now I'm here, and I'm glad to be here. It's called The Funny Thing Is Podcast, and it is where I have usually comedians, or whether it's like from sketch, stand-up, or some type of comedian.
Right.
But it's where they share a life-changing event Then they share the medicine it took to get better, which can be anything from like ayahuasca. We have a couple people, including Farid, talks about shrooms, which is lovely. He also did, his episode hasn't come out yet, but he did a rebirthing ceremony. Do you know what that is? That's when they put you between two mattresses and you reenact your birth.
I was going to say, yeah. You're going in a fake womb to come out.
Where do they do this at?
He's on a fucking he must be on a good one.
What is going on?
Shit.
It's great. I cannot.
She talked about ayahuasca because you love talking about that shit.
Yeah, I know.
He did ayahuasca?
No. We talk about Aaron Rodgers doing this shit all the time.
Yes. Oh yeah, he gets really into the spiritual stuff.
Yeah, he does some crazy shit.
I just heard it just run, just makes you, and puke and
Oh yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Oh, well, I've heard like a lot of stories about the ayahuasca stuff, but then so they share their medicine that helps them get better. And not that everybody's completely healed. I don't think any of us are. Right. And then the last thing is like the funniest thing they learned along the way. So like my friend Joey shared that when he was diagnosed with epilepsy, and then he talked about weed and a medication called Keppra that helped him get life on track. It took a few years. And then I said, what's the funniest lesson that you learned? He goes that it's okay to pee yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like it's amazing. No. It's great. And
classic.
No.
I will say, and you cannot clip this, but I will say I had the best title for that episode and he shot it down. Because he has epilepsy and he used THC. So I said, can we call it Shake and Bake?
Oh, that's great.
He didn't like it.
Wow, that's great.
He didn't like it. And I was like, that's the best name for that episode. So then I was like, fine, I'm calling it Epilepsy and THC. I give up. I'm not.
I love it.
I was so mad that he shot it down.
No, I would be too. That's a great title.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good premise of a show too. I mean, there's a lot there. So I'm sure you're like.
Well, it's like what you guys are doing where it's like helping people through the hard stuff and like because everybody's going through it,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Which brings me into the positive period of the podcast where we leave our audience and viewers at home a positive moment to our next episode. Yeah. So is there any positivity that you would like to give the compadres out there?
Do I just say anything? What do I say?
Anything that comes from the heart.
Oh, positive. I will say that from learning from my podcast that people can be in the darkest situations, stuff that I consider myself fairly strong about getting through difficult times, but they'll present stuff to me that I'm like, absolutely no way I could get through that. And they do. They get through it with grace. They get through it with humility. They come out on the other side stronger. And every one of them is now able to laugh about it. And I think that's in all of us as humans, and to not give up, because a lot of people that I've also talked to have come close to doing that. And then now they're living their best lives. And I mean, but not even like they're doing okay or surviving. They are thriving because they waited it out.
Right.
And they did the work. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's my positivity.
That's good.
Throw it down, P.
All right, man. I guess this is just a big thing. Shout out Ricky, who was going over a bit of this last night. But it's about success. And true success, if you really want to succeed, you have to want it as much as you want to breathe.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Straight up. It has to be like, the breath in your body, just how you cannot go without it.
Yeah.
That's how you have to challenge everything to be successful. So that's just my opinion.
Well said, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go between both of you guys. You both just said, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to just be keeled through the whole thing. Like, I like to see people that when they're winning are the same. Same person, right. And when they're losing.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And that's kind of like what you both said. So
that's a hard balance to do, though.
It is, but
it is.
1 week somebody's high, and the next week they're low, and you see them still rocking. It's
true
it's
grace
a
and
beautiful
humble.
thing. What do you say, Joe?
Yeah, and I just think that people think that maybe that's like a chemical imbalance, or I just think that's life.
It is.
I just think that's what we go through. I had a discussion actually last night with someone, and he made a lot of sense, and he's a great dude. And he's like, you know what, man? I don't know you that well, but I can see that you're just a good dude. You don't take any shit. You're a real dude. And he goes, I think sometimes people get twisted that we don't know what's going on in everybody's head. We just see the shell.
Right.
And then when you go home, the shell needs to relax. Yeah. And then that's when your thoughts just go out. And I was like, damn, bro. Because he's a good dude. Like, he owns a restaurant. We were having this deep conversation. And I think it's just a lot of truth behind that, you know? And I don't think I think we just, like I said before, everybody just judges everybody. We don't know what the is really going on in anybody's head or what they've been through in life or just that day, you know? So,
we have to, when people speak, we have to, listen to understand and get
of course,
the feeling of what they're trying to really say.
Well, that's a common theme on this podcast.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Yes,
it keeps on coming. It keeps on coming, man.
Yeah.
Man, I can't say enough, and I can't say thank you enough for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Well, we'd like to have you back again.
We'll do it. Let's do it. It will not take me as long to schedule it this time, I promise.
We're going to be on her.
You got that little one. Bring her on the show, too.
She would
The princess
She would
comedy?
love it. Yeah, we'll keep her downstairs until it's time, because otherwise she's going to run the whole show.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Hey, it'll be showtime for her.
She'd love it. She'd love it.
We'll just call this Apollo and it'll be her showtime. Seriously, she is. I will say that she is very much a treat to watch you guys interact and stuff like that. Like you guys, your Wonder Twin powers definitely be activated.
Yeah. Content is fire.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the content.
Good. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Where can they find you at?
Yes.
I'm at Nicole Comedy. Well, you can get me on NicoleComedy.com, which has everything else, all the information you need. Obviously, you can do the Funny Thing podcast on wherever you get your podcast. And then at Nicole Burch Comedy on Instagram and most socials. Yeah.
Dope.
Okay.
Go follow for sure.
Yeah.
Really good content.
Please.
Great.
Yes. And I'm glad to hear you're about to be at the Mastermind Studio now.
I know,
That's
dude.
awesome.
It's a level up. Okay, I'm very excited. And I'm like getting in now because I'm like, they're going to blow the
Mark and his team are fired.
Yeah, they are fired.
Dude, it's great.
Queen behind the scenes, Ja. Keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah, I literally sent a picture of, because I've shot 2 episodes here. I sent a picture, or no, I did a video so they could hear the sound too. And I was like, so we like this better, right? And they were like, oh my God. And I was like, okay, good.
That's what I wanted to hear.
That's what I want to hear. Good. And they were like, yes. And then now more people, once I've sent out the clip, because it hasn't even aired yet, it won't even air for 4 or 5 weeks. Once that airs, like I know I'm going to have so many more people that want to do the podcast, which is great.
Sick.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it goes.
So the tops off.
That's exactly how it goes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. And at this time, compadres, y'all know what to do. That's at COMPODRES. Again, emphasis on the POD. And to my right, as always, Lance the Man himself.
I am _ill son.
And also to my right, Joe Rosati himself.
The real Joe Rosati. And tell moms when she comes back out here, he's doing Jaeger bombs.
Jaeger bombs. Her mom is awesome.
Sorry,
awesome.
it's been a while.
That's right.
I would love to be a part of that. I would love to be a part of that.
Fucking with me, huh? She's awesome.
And I am SB Press, and like that, compadres, we're going.